When did you first realize, moving away from the 17 and 65 season, when did you think to yourself, I think I got something? I think I got something here.
I think just over time, the gradual growth of the viewership and the growth in the numbers, the growth in social media, as we were like improving the way that we put the content out there, people just started to flock to it. Right. And it became like a nightly thing because we established that brand that every night you know where to find us. Yeah. You know what you're going to get every night. You're going to get the analysis. You're going to get the highlights. You're going to get the callers calling in. And it might be a Debbie Downer like Ari from Manhattan, or it might be Jay Boogie who brings his preacher vibes to it. But you know what you're going to get every night. So, but I think one of the things that made me realize it was the Charles Oakley interview.
Yes.
The Charles Oakley interview. Because it went viral. That was the first piece of content that really went, the first interview that was picked up.
Was he the first guest that came on?
No, the first guest was actually, and shout out to my guy, Tommy Beer. He was a writer for Forbes magazine at the time.
Okay.
And the first player we had on was Chris Childs.
Which
was a great interview.
My
great storyteller, very animated as well. But the Oakley one, that one was, it went viral and it got picked up by NBC. Michael K. Show picked it up. Because of it's Oakley.
Yeah, it's Oakley.
It's Oakley. And I remember when that was the first interview, I was like, man, we got to do our homework because Oak is not going to play around because he can see right through it. You know what I mean? He has that media training. He's Oak. Yeah. So he knows like you got to come correct with him.
You have to come.
And I remember my partner at the time, we were comparing questions and notes and stuff like that. He's like, yo, is this good? What do you think? I was like, yo, it's okay. But be ready for this thing to go off the rails because I already knew. Like,
sometimes you may throw this one up.
Yeah, I already knew it's gonna come a point in time when the script is out the window. And we're just gonna have to go with it.
Yeah.
Sure enough, happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? Sure enough, happened. Middle of the interview, Oak just went left.
Yeah,
and my partner he kind of froze up, and I had to be like, you know what, boo, let's go. Let's shoot the fair one, and let's just go with it. And so, but that authentic conversation, I think Oak respected it at the end of the day.
It's true.
Is what made it what it was. And like I said, it got picked up on the national scene, so that was nice.
Yeah, it's nice to know that you were able to pivot. That happened to us earlier last season where we had a whole script. We got ready for this one particular guy with Fadi, and completely different. Basically turned down my computer. I was like, all right, we're just gonna have a conversation here because this is how it's gonna go. But sometimes it's just like that. You need to be scripted and prepared, but also you need to be ready for the unexpected.
Always.
So I'm sure that was like the first moment where you had like, okay, like I need to be ready for this.
Yeah.
So
yep.
And what were some of the moves and decisions? Because obviously, if everybody sees how you started and where you are today, what were some of sort of like the key decisions and moves that you made to help scale KFTV to what it is today?
Yeah, well, you certainly can't scale without funds, right? Yeah. So one of the things was in the onset, it was just understand that I'm going to have to invest in myself. So the benefit of having a good career, good job was that I could take some of the extra cash and purchase my first Apple product because I knew like to run this show, which is going to be resource intensive, I was going to have to bite the bullet and buy a reliable computer. So I had to buy my Apple, buy my mics, my mixing board, all the setup and really invest. But also as we grew and I started building business with different brands, I put it back into the product and brought more people on board.
Right. Yeah.
Because obviously I couldn't do everything. It was great I always feel like it's great to learn each process of the business, but ultimately you want to get to the point where you're able to delegate.
Yeah.
And then once you delegate and you know the process, that's how you kind of mitigate the risk of, working with bad people, getting ripped off, things of that nature, because you kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
So we started investing in a supporting staff as well. And then, just understanding that I don't have all the answers. Yeah. When it comes to this, I didn't want to make it just a me show and everybody just has to listen to me. And so building relationships was key. So we would bring in, an Alan Hahn, some of those established veterans, the players to tell their stories, the journalists who were in the locker room getting those stories. Like I was always thinking about value to the end viewer. Like, what do you guys want to know about? And I'm putting myself in the seat of the fan because I am a fan.
Right.
So I had to kind of take that ego aside and understand that it's not just about me. It's about you at the end of the day. And so I had to build those relationships to bring those people in that I felt like could bring more value to the show.
Yeah, I feel like whenever you bring the journalists, the Bondies, the Begleys, the Cats, I feel like, okay, we're getting a different perspective than same. I love the analysis you're giving, but they have a very in-depth, in the beat, in the team analysis, and that just adds on to the show because now you're gonna want to come back and be like, all right, how is CP gonna build on this? And you just keep delivering, right? So do you always feel that as you get bigger and bigger, there's a little bit more pressure for you to just keep building upon that? And I mean, you're a confident person. Obviously, you wouldn't be where you are if you're not, whatever. But do you ever feel that pressure to feel like, okay, how am I going to keep scaling this thing?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But I think it's natural.
Right.
Like, it's natural to feel that way and to want to not want to be complacent and to want to continue growing. And I think that is what has kind of opened up doors, both for me and the channel, is not being complacent and always taking on new challenges, taking on things where I might not even know how to handle it, but I'm just going to insert myself into it and see where it leads. I think those things, you have to kind of embrace that. And that's what we've been trying to do.
Well, when's the point where you go full-time Knicks Fan TV? You quit your day job and then you just go all in.
December 2022.
Oh, so just recent. Not too
Okay.
far ago. So you were doing the whole full-time corporate?
I was doing it.
5 years, I guess, right?
5 years. I was busting it out, 15, 18-hour days, working damn near 2 full-time jobs. But December 2022 was the point where, because I'm a VP, like I'm a manager.
You
like,
can't.
It's not an entry-level thing where you can kind of get lost. Like, you're responsible for growing your staff and developing people and being there and presenting to the high-ups and things of that nature. So it came to a point where it was coming to a head where the hours, it just wasn't making sense. Yeah. And I always, felt like I was just getting to a point where I was tired of living somebody else's dream. I wanted to do my own thing. I always had that in the back of my mind, like, life is just too short.
It is.
I like this job, I like this career, but I gotta write my own book because it's gonna be over soon. Yeah. And so I just felt like there was gonna come a time. So I just kind of put my ducks in a row, made sure that I always had this as a backup plan.
Right.
Because I was established in the field. I got 2 degrees. Like, I wasn't worried about falling on hard times for too long. So I just say, yo, we got to jump.
It's true. No, absolutely.
And it's a nerve-wracking, it's anxiety-filled, it's very difficult because, like I said, I'm not young. And I had mouths to feed. I wasn't a kid who I could just stay in my mom and dad's basement and afford. I got mortgage to pay. I got bills. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it wasn't easy. But I just, had to trust my instincts and my conviction and just say, look, we got to jump. We could always come back to this. And so December 2022, I was like.
Now, you have a lot of anxiety, but did you feel like immediately as soon as you became a full-time content creator and entrepreneur, did you have that sigh of relief? Like, I finally get to control my narrative.
No.
No. Maybe there was
because, it's different. It's different, man. Like, when you come through the school system and you go to college, like, all of that, for the most part, is preparing you to be an employee.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're an employee, like, you can take days off. You can coach some days. You could take a sick day, take a personal day, go to the Yankee game, and you know what I mean? Yeah. You can have those days where you just BSing it, like, BSing through.
It's true.
When you're full-time and you're on your own, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And so every day you got to figure out not just how I'm going to eat, how's my team going to eat, how are we progressing, are we doing the right thing? Is this decision that I'm making, is this the right move to make? There's no guarantees, especially in this industry that's in its nascent stages, still growing.
Yeah.
At least on the corporate side, that whatever I do, at least for the most part, 15th and the 30th, I'm going to get my checks.
Checks are
They
clearing.
might bring you in, be like, yo, you got to step it up. But for the most part, 15th and the 30th, I'm good.
Yeah.
But with this, it's all new territory. And so in the beginning, I was like, Sweating. But I said, yo, just stick with it. We'll get to cruising altitude at some point.
So it makes me feel better that I'm still doing those 20-hour days. You see the time. I'm texting this guy 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, as soon as I'm done with this job, because this job is ruthless. But I'm so dedicated to this platform because I feel like, similar to yourself, I feel like there was a little bit of a gap, at least in what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm trying to actually bring up stories such as yourself. I think, to be quite honest with you, I find you a lot more interesting than some of the high level, high names, because I feel like you're the dream. Taking it from having humble beginnings, building yourself up, doing it over time. And I feel like there's so many more interesting people who do that rather than people who are in the top 1%. I could show, I'm not trying to pick anybody out, but I just feel your story is much more inspiring, much more relatable to the average normal human being than some other. Look, it doesn't matter how many times I go to the gym. I'll never jump as high as LeBron James. I'm not gifted. Like, it's just not happen. It's just never going to happen.
Yeah.
But through perseverance and consistency and having a will and determination and a plan, you can do whatever you want to do, such as yourself, right? So shout out to you again, man.
Appreciate it.